one change, which is already well along the way, but I think has really matured, is the involvement of people who do empirical research, trying to understand how sort of ethical challenges either exist in the world or are confronted in the world in real descriptive and empirical ways. And there's always been a very strong history of theoretical, I shouldn't say always, go back to the 1950s, 1960s. Since then, there's been a very strong history of careful theoretical world in bioethics. Most of it in the early days grew out of either theology or philosophy. But over time, it evolved to where people doing clinical work, doctors, nurses, etc., were also involved in the field, sometimes doing more theoretical work, saying this is the way things should be, this is the way things should not be, but sometimes doing work to actually either understand how things actually are in the world or to say, how can we make things better? How can we test an intervention to try to solve this problem or that problem? So one change has been the increasing involvement of people on the front lines of medicine, people on the front lines of research, people on the front lines of policy in the field of bioethics. Again, well on its way before I got into the field, but has continued, I think, to grow. Another change has been, I guess this is related, that much of that type of research requires funding. And so there have been, with ups and downs, commitments from various funding bodies, federal government being a major one, or perhaps the major one, but a number of foundations as well, to say this work is important to the public, this work is important to people's health, this work is important to us as a society. And so we're going to commit resources to making sure that that the work is done, that there are good people out there to do it. So those are, I think, a couple of the major changes. I think the third is medical schools, universities, hospitals have really developed departments. Again, there were many departments there prior to my getting involved in the field, but I think over time there has been an increasing formalization of the role of bioethics within medicine, within science, within policy, and within research.
Do you think most of that is a result of outside pressure?
I don't think it's a result of outside pressure, although I will say when there are scandals, then attention is drawn, at least for a period of time, to bioethics as a place to think carefully about what's good, what's bad, think what should we not do, what should we do more of. So whenever there's a scandal that breaks, one can think back to the revelations in the 1990s about the radiation experiments that were done mostly on people who didn't know they were subjects of experiments, often on kids. That was a very unhappy revelation, or a revelation of a very unhappy period of time. And so there was a great deal of attention drawn to why did this happen? How can we prevent it from happening the next time? What lessons can we learn? The much more recent story is the revelations about research in Guatemala where people were intentionally infected with syphilis and other diseases. And that was a reminder that there was a period of time in the past when things were done that really shouldn't have been done. And I don't think that, at least in the United States today, those things are still being done, but there's still lessons to be drawn from them. It actually connects back to the first thing we talked about, my memories of living in South Africa, my consciousness of the fact that I started in South Africa, because I think one of the things that history teaches us is that when you dehumanize people, or when you devalue people, then in the realm of experimentation with people, it becomes much easier to start to treat them as less than full equals, less than full moral beings. And I think these are the lessons that the history of really unethical research from the earlier days of research teaches us. It's a lesson of what can happen when you dehumanize and devalue people.